Hello, everyone. My name is Sixto Cancel. I'm the founder and CEO of Think of Us. We're a systems change nonprofit focused on improving the foster care system by leveraging technology design, human-centered design, but most importantly, by centering the system's potential solutions on the actual lived experience of those who have been in care, been impacted by care. Recently, we put out an application asking young people and those with lived experience to participate in a discovery sprint around non-family placements. A discovery sprint is a research methodology that aims at putting the lived experience of those affected by a problem at the center, and then really finding out what is trending and what is a pattern among their experiences that provide us insights. So what are those actual structural failures that are causing some of the outcomes that we see? We are so honored that we received 275 applicants. And so we felt that it was very important to circle back, seeing that we could only engage 36 people with lived experience in a deep way for this study, so that we felt it was important to come circle back and let folks know how is it that we're selecting folks. And we are exploring what are some additional opportunities we can provide, because we had such a dynamic outcome. I know many of you shared it. I know many of you have applied, and we just want to honor that application by sharing and being transparent on how we got there. So I want to introduce you to one of my favorite people, Sarah Fatala, who is a lead researcher and designer here at Think of Us, and she can walk you through a little bit through how we got to the selection process.
Thank you, Sixto. As Sixto mentioned, we had an overwhelming number of responses that we feel so honored to have received, 275 within 29 hours. That is not something that we take lightly at all. So I just wanted to walk you through some of the selection criteria, what we call sampling criteria. So this is basically the spreadsheet with every single applicant that entered their information. We obviously hid people's names and identifiable information for obvious reasons, but you can see up top the categories that we are looking at for sampling the people that we're talking to include a variety of ages, whether they're currently a foster youth or formerly foster youth, their gender identity, their sexual orientation, their race and ethnicity, their parental experience, their experience with the juvenile justice system, where they're currently located, where they grew up, and then the types of facilities that they've experienced, because we're looking at a variety of placements, whether that's group homes, homes for pregnant and parenting teen, therapeutic residential facilities, as well as shelters, the total amount of time that they spent in those placements, as well as the number of placements, and finally, whether they've had a good experience, a bad experience, or an average experience in those different placements. So we start off by looking at and reading every single one of these entries, and then we start to select participants to make sure that we have as many possible representation and experiences that are very representative and inclusive of the wide ranges of experiences that people have in non-family placements. So we go from the 275 to 36 or 42, and then we just basically have a structured process where we start to look at every single person's age, every single person's relationship with foster care, their gender, their sexual orientation, race and ethnicity, et cetera, all of the criteria that I mentioned. And then we start by trying to figure out of those who are the 36 and 42 that will allow us to be as representative as possible. And the reason for that is that we just want to make sure that the constraints that we have in terms of time and budget to be able to only speak to that small amount of people doesn't mean that our sprint findings will be dismissed because we have a blind spot. That we didn't, for example, include people who weren't parents, or we didn't include people from small towns and we only included people who were in big cities, or that we only included people who were placed in the same state that they were initially before they entered care. So we really wanted to make sure that every single one of the sampling criteria that I mentioned earlier had a variety of experiences, which is how we ended up with the sample that we have today.
And Sarah, can you tell me a little bit more about like what are all these colors?
Sure, of course. So this is just a way to visually represent the different criteria, like I mentioned. So for example, as a researcher, one way that I would start off by reviewing all of the participants is starting with those that we have very few of. So for instance, we had very few participants that came in and said that they had a great experience in care, which obviously is not surprising, but we do want to make sure that we talk to those who had a good experience. So as we start to put them in on our list, then we start to realize, well, as we color coded, a lot of those people were stated that their gender was female. So we're like, okay, well, let's course correct that a little bit and look a little bit more at male participants. Similarly, we had a number of participants that were from Alaska. So we started to course correct that and look for folks who were from different states. So having this color coding system just allows us at a first glance to see, okay, we're doing pretty well on the race and ethnicity representation, but we weren't doing so well in the gender representation. So let's start to course correct that, as you can see below. And then as we started to add those different participants in our list, we kept a tab of the actual numbers. So we had all of their ages, whether they were current or former foster youth, their gender, their sexual orientation, their race and ethnicity, parenting experience, juvenile justice experience, the states that they represented, and then what we call a sampling table, where we wanted to have a cross section of those who were in the different placements, and then the combined time that they had in those placements, and make sure that that is representative as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And just so that folks know, we were very inclusive of people who were of all different types of sexual orientation, sexual identities, gender expressions, gender identities, I mean, you name it, ethnicity, race, the different experiences in care. And it was important to us that all of those were represented. Young people who are Native, don't want to leave our Native young people out. If I didn't call you out, it's not that we forgot you, but that I just wanted to name some of the things that I know a lot of folks question and wonder when these type of research studies are being done. This is not about coming out with a statistic at the end of it. This is about really being able to understand problems in a new way, to shake loose some insight, and to really center the work that people are going to do to make decisions to change different aspects of the group home experience on the actual lived experience of young people who are who experience this across the country. Sarah, as we close out here, anything that was just surprising immediately to you? This is just off the cuff as we're sharing here. Anything that you thought to yourself, I didn't realize that thing?
No, I mean, I think for me, what was really powerful is in reading the responses. We had a question that was free form, where folks could just speak a little bit to their experience. I'm not showing it here because some of the responses are identifiable. But in reading every single one of those responses, it's so clear to us that youth have so much to say about their experiences in care and their experiences in these kinds of placements, which really validates the need to having these kinds of sprints that actually centers their voices, centers their quotes, centers their anecdotes, their stories, their testimonies. So I think it just sort of puts a lot of weight and pressure on our shoulders to get this right and to really tell those stories in the most authentic way. So that's really what we're here to do, and that's where the work begins.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for doing the hard work of literally reading every single one of these. I do not envy your position at all. I don't know how one doesn't want to talk to everyone. I know it's difficult wanting to talk to everyone, but having to narrow that down as we're finalizing our process here. I wanted to make sure that you, as those of us who've been the community that have actually recruited young people for this, who have actually applied, young people and alumni who you have applied for this, I just wanted to have just a quick check-in moment to just say, this is me being transparent about this process, so that when we reach back out, you all would know exactly how did this actually occur. And I just want to also give a very huge special kind of thank you for everyone who applied to be part of this this study, because again, we don't take it lightly that you'd be willing to recount some of these experiences in the efforts to making sure that other young people who are in the system don't go through the experiences that you went through. So with that, I just wanted to honor that by being transparent here, and look forward to hearing more from folks that did apply, because we will expect to hear more from us for folks who did apply, because we will be trying to figure out other opportunities for you to engage. We felt an overwhelming kind of response to this, and so we want to make sure that we're honoring that energy also. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.